Did you ever, for any second, think about terminating the pregnancy?
Unfortunately, yes.
So I took the test, obviously it was positive. The first reaction, obviously, it was like you said, not just sadness, just like frightened. I mean, you feel like your words stopped. First you panic and everything, and then you're like, is there a way out of this?
If you're a single mother and they don't have the family support, then they still manage to do it. Superhumans.
Welcome to the She Word, where we have conversations that women rarely have but really should. I'm Sasha, your host for this edition, the Young Women edition, where we are having conversations which are more tailored for a younger demographic. Today's conversation is actually our final conversation for this season, so I would like to take just a brief moment to thank Trudy for trusting me with this edition, all the guests we've had, plus our viewers for making this show possible at home. I can assure you that we will be back. Our final conversation for this season is Young Women and Motherhood, where we'll be diving into the realities, challenges, and the joy of becoming a mother at a young age. Even though in Malta early pregnancies seem to be quite frowned upon, statistics show in many countries the early to mid-20s is a common age range for women to become mothers for the first time. It goes without saying that I've invited 3 fantastic women for this show, who I've all admired from afar at some point or another and would love to listen to what they have to say on the topic from their own personal experiences. So without further ado, let's get straight into our show. For this show, I've invited Denise, who is currently 26. She's a singer, a nurse, and also a broadcast producer currently working with Vibe FM, who found out she was pregnant at the age of 19 and had her baby at 20. Hello, Denise.
Hi. Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. I've also invited Leanne Grech, who is currently 25 years old, recently qualified as a personal trainer, who also found out she was pregnant at the age of 19 and had the baby at age 20. Hello, Leanne.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And finally, Nicola Vella, who is currently 31, has been working in inclusive learning for the last 3 years, found out she was pregnant at age 29, and had her baby when she had just turned 30. So the youngest mother that we have in terms of how long you've been a mother,
Exactly.
right?
Pretty new. Here for the tips.
Yeah.
Well, work in progress.
So, ladies, thank you all so much for coming on the show. Now that I've introduced you, I'd also like you to introduce yourselves, perhaps mention anything which I didn't cover. Denise, you want to start us off?
Well, you covered a lot. I'm Jackie of all trades, master of none. I am a graduated nurse, but however, I don't practice anymore after 2 years, and I decided to leave my profession and do what I actually really love and enjoy going to work in the morning. I struggled a lot to find where I fit in, and finally, I think I found where I finally, like, the puzzle pieces finally fit, and I think that's important as a mother, that I take care of my well-being and how happy I am at work in order to go regularly. And that my daughter sees how happy I am, and she should go to work happy when she's older, even if she has to change careers. So I think that's what I would like to highlight.
That's beautiful, and we're off to a very great start as well. Leanne?
Okay, so hi everyone, I am Leanne. As you have already mentioned, I am a recent qualified personal trainer. I also work as a part-time as a sales assistant, but obviously I would like to now more continue with the personal training, and also I've been doing some classes. So that's the main goal at the moment. Like you mentioned as well, obviously, I'm trying to put really efforts in myself and what I do to show obviously the same thing to my daughter. I think if you have a job which you hate, not hate, but like it's not your main focus, you'll be just doing it for the day. You know, you need to think of a bit of the future, obviously being a mom. I think that is our fear, that we're always thinking about the future, non-stop, exactly.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I'm trying to focus a bit more on the things I see myself doing long term.
Amazing, amazing. And
you.
Nicole?
I am the oldest, so definitely I think I'm doing quite a few different things like her. I graduated in something and I never really used it. So I am a communications honors degree graduate. I don't know. I don't think I ever get the chance to actually use it and what I really love here. And I never wanted to settle for a job that's kind of, I'm just working a 9 to 5 job, Monday to Friday, and never doing anything that I love. So I traveled a little bit. And then when I came back, I got pregnant. And that's when I kind of started thinking about the career, like being set in one place, at least for now until he's older. And that's when I kind of enrolled before I actually got pregnant. I kind of got into the LSC role, but it was something that I enjoyed doing so much because it was with kids. I was helping them, and then when Oli came along, it kind of everything makes sense. Like her, like things started to fall into place.
Yeah.
And I would like to continue on that. It works well with him, the hours, working with kids. I'm learning so much, and I can use it with my son as well. So far, I think I'm on the right track, but I'm 31 going on 32, and it took me quite a while to get to this. Got my degree, spent some time away, and so don't give up, guys.
No rush, there's no rush.
There's no rush, but you'll get there. So
Of course.
that's it,
Very good.
basically.
I wanted to start with quite an open question. So, Denise,
Yes.
can you share your personal journey of becoming a mother at a young age and the emotions you experienced during this life-changing process?
Okay. um, I think the first emotion, sadly, comes to mind is sadness, which is not very nice. But sometimes not every story is like, oh, we were planning to get pregnant and
Exactly.
like we planned and like we painted the wall and
And we were
I
waiting
didn't do
for you.
any of this. Any
Exactly.
of this. So like unfortunately, the first thing that comes to mind is how tough of a time it was. But obviously, I wouldn't be as mature and as ready to face life as a 26-year-old if it weren't for that period in my life. So definitely, everything happens for a reason. It was tough. I mean, I was young. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had a dream that I wanted to, and I've said this previously on the She Word as well in the last season, where I wanted to pursue the career of being a dancer and a singer full time and do musical theater around the world. Or I auditioned for a cruise, which I couldn't like. I got chosen. I did the audition. I got chosen to go on a particular cruise brand for like 6 months and like,
Wow.
but I couldn't obviously, which broke my heart. I was doing full-time dance even at University of Malta and I had to leave. But I believe that it was still the best choice for me because I wasn't really enjoying the course, and I don't think it was for me anyway. So I still like everything happens for a reason. Um, and I think I would have never imagined myself being so open in front of so many people about this. But every time I do something like this, so many people message me.
Because it's the reality as
Like
well.
long paragraphs, and
That they relate to, I
a lot
think.
of them. Sorry, guys, whoever sent me these, but I screenshot them and keep them.
Yeah, that's
And
course,
like
nice.
I
special.
open about this about this thing to my mom because I always tell her like, look where I am now. I was so depressed at the time since it came at a really unplanned time, obviously, and judgment, and I was young and I live in Gozo, so a lot of like gossip, and I was the talk of the town. But yes, it
Shows how
was.
important it is to actually speak out, though, right? Like you highlighted it yourself.
And now I did it more
Pretty
than
common.
once. Now, at first I started with a small segment, and like it was a short reel, and then I started doing podcasts about it. And there's so many subjects you can tackle, and also speaking about it made me feel less alone, and realized how many people went through similar or like even different experiences, but it always boils down to the same feelings.
Exactly.
Even if it was planned, there's still
It's something
still
very
gets
mom
lonely, I
guilt.
think. Still
You're
gets,
still lonely. You're still struggling.
you're still alone with the kids, even if you have obviously have support.
So
I
like
think
it
Your life,
opens
it
up
changes
these
a lot.
conversations to
Exactly,
a lot
only.
of people. Because I always look up to my mom and say, "Ma, she's perfect. She's such a good mother. How can I be like that?" So my mom made me
course.
have so much like a high level of like parenting.
It was
Like
enough.
I'm never gonna be good like that, Madoff.
It almost set like expectations for yourself.
But like major respect to my mom. She's amazing.
How sweet. How sweet. What about you, Leanne?
So taking it a bit back. So I was 19, like you mentioned. Obviously, it wasn't planned at that time. To be honest, I remember myself never speaking about babies. Like, you know, like now you hear, because obviously at this age, I think people are like more having children
Planning.
and planning. And even on like social media, we see more younger moms. I think at that time, which isn't too long ago, it's 5 years ago, but still at the time, I never spoke about kids, obviously not even with him, not even to my friends. It was such a, can we get pregnant, you know? Like you wouldn't even think about it. So when it happened, I was like, for sure. It's like even when I took the test, I was like, for sure, no, it's negative for sure. I'm just gonna take it to be sure. Then I'll wait for my period. Blah blah blah. So I took the test. Obviously, it was positive. The first reaction, obviously, it was like you said, not just sadness, just like frightened. I mean, you feel like your words stopped. You know,
It's
you feel
crumbling, right?
exactly. Trying to remember what I was
It's truly how it
feeling.
feels, Imma.
Yeah.
And you guys,
It's
you were
like
young as well.
That
You know,
I
like
don't
19
like
is
my future is
pretty.
gone.
As someone
That's how you
who
would,
is 23 and
even
of
now,
not
exactly.
with
Even now,
not a
I say I'm
mother,
25
it
now, but
scares me.
I
Like,
mean, I got a
so
it
shock
is.
and I was
I definitely
29.
believe
Imagine
you.
10 years before. I think it
And
was
It's like
I
not even talking
I
about
was-
kids,
a bit.
nothing.
No.
I never carried a baby. The first baby I carried was Amelia, my daughter. Like I had cousins who had like
Same.
obviously, but I was like,
Yeah.
I have
Not
to
even my
feed. I have to
sister.
feed.
She
Like
had a son after me, so
after you, that's how you feel like you
Wow.
were young.
she's 10 years older than me.
Exactly. I had friends of my mom, so obviously they were older. I'm like, so that's where you
Reality
really feel
check.
young, and especially you feel younger compared to every other mom, because I look younger as well. So I think even like you mentioned, like judging, like I would used to think that if I looked older, maybe okay, they wouldn't look as much,
No.
maybe, but no, like you'll feel everyone's like sometimes even now because I still look young and she's only 5 years old. You'll see people saying
They still
she could be
say
her
anything.
sister, maybe she's her sister, and then they'll wait for the reply, and then obviously she goes mama, and okay, she's
My
the
mom
mom.
looks a bit young, so
So,
sometimes they think
for you as well.
Yes, that's
In that
she's
same
her
aspect.
daughter.
Mhm.
What if you could start your journey over? Start here and start again there. That's how life works, in a circular way. We understand the importance of circles, and that's why you are at the heart of ours. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
What about you, Nicole?
Mine is a bit different because I mean they were much younger than me, but still it was not planned. As I mentioned before, I mean we were traveling before, so we were not in that spot. Like listen, like we have a house and we're going to.
Settled.
We were quite scattered. We had just. I remember I bought this. We will live in a mobile home, which is in Ahrash, so it's not, I mean, it is baby friendly because we made it baby friendly, and but it was not set for a family kind of at the time. It was still being fixed and everything. So as soon as we got in, and there was nothing, like I found out I was pregnant. So I wasn't feeling sad at the time. I was very shocked about it, but then I kind of got into this thinking, and I'm like, okay, so now it means that I cannot go back to traveling. I was waiting for COVID kind of to pass so that we can get back to it. My plans changed completely. You start thinking your decisions, and now I just, paid all this money on this place. But is it okay to raise a baby? It is, guys. He's almost 2 and he's living a very good life. But still, it was very like my parents were over the moon. but it's something different. The
Still
emotions
you.
are different. Then it's still something to this day when I think about it. And he's too. I always say like, okay, if I didn't have Oli, probably I wouldn't be in Malta. I would be traveling and doing this and that. And it's something that will always kind of do. Like
I
it's
think there's
something
a
that's
fraction of anger, not
Exactly.
because I said sadness,
It
but
changes
sadness as a
you.
whole, like the
Exactly.
whole year, from
It
becoming
changes you a lot.
pregnant to having Ella. It
And
was quite.
once you had birth, then
No, I suffered with postnatal
Yes.
depression as well. So my mom and my sister took over, ġifiri, a lot in terms of buying stuff for Ella and everything. So I was quite out of it. But I think there was some kind of anger towards life. Like I had so many plans.
Yeah, like
I
why did this
wanted, I
happen to
was
me?
Everything has
You
to
have to
stop.
hit
I
the pause
chose
button
my
and you kind of have to readjust, because there's a lot of things. At the time I used to think,
Exactly.
okay, so now there's like a 5-year maybe pause button until like you can actually do things with him.
But I think
when you see
That's
your
another
friends, you
thing.
kind of
I
do the things
remember.
that you really want to. Like I have a lot of friends traveling at the moment, and I would have otherwise go meet them or something. And it's not that I'm here on a punishment. No way. Like I'm
I have
living the
to-
best life with my son. But I think the thing that's really annoys me a bit is the fact that I feel stuck in Malta, and I'm not a huge fan. This is not a secret. Anyone that knows me
Exactly.
knows this.
Yeah.
So I think for now that was the biggest adjustment for me, and the worry that the place where I live is not good enough for him, and people do. Oh, you live up there on your own, like with your son, like it's what happens when it's raining a lot and to take him out and that's cold. Like, man, guys, I think babies are born in Alaska, and they're still managed.
of
We're still in
course he's
Malta.
safe.
But for them, the concept of it not being a house,
Yeah.
they kind of, and I only
some
lives
people
there
say
with
that
you.
about goats, though, so it's
Even
fine.
about a
So
house.
these things adjusting, but then you kind of say, listen, you adjust.
works for you,
It
it
works
works.
for me.
Exactly, for him.
The time to travel will come again. It's just an adjustment.
Just because it isn't
It was
the
not
norm.
planned as well.
Exactly, doesn't mean so
So
good.
that's why, like, you have to.
I actually like the
Okay,
idea
this is
better than a
happening now.
house, to be honest.
So that's it, I think.
So for you two particularly, because you mentioned that the news was quite like it triggered a lot of sadness, anger. How did you cope with it?
Family.
Family.
Family and therapy, friends. Took a lot of self-discipline. At first, I struggled a lot. And sometimes I struggle right now from time to time.
Exactly, you still get the same.
I mean, every age brings something new to get used to.
There's a lot of change, right?
Every year.
It's true, because you mentioned when
Till
he's five.
Till 5, there's another.
I used to think
still,
like that as
something
well.
new.
It's a
It's not
phases,
bad.
And
It's
they
not
have
bad.
friends, and then they have.
You want to go out
There's
more.
something.
If they're religious, like they have Holy Communion and all these things.
Every year there's
I don't know,
something.
it's for
And-
me. That's
and
a
a lot,
lot,
I
like
have to
if
do
you,
it.
if
It's
you take
something
them
that
to
affects me a
music
lot.
classes, and like right now I
A
want to
lot.
take her to music lessons or introduction to music. I have to rely on my mom, so I have to ask her if she's
Exactly,
available
the
on
planning.
the given dates. Since I'm not, I can't give a fixed day because of my work, and I have like it's heartbreaking sometimes to say, like in my brain, like I could have planned with like my partner, but like to have
It's true,
kids
we
and
always say this.
but I haven't. I have to have this talk with my mom about my own thought. Like it's a bit.
But at least you have
So same.
support. So, like
I
that's
have
something.
major support,
Exactly, so that's
major, but
something
my
really
brain
good.
still goes like, why is it like
Yeah.
this? Why does it have to be like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. It's
get
good.
there.
It's still good. I have a lot of support. I'm lucky. Ella's happy, which is all that
That's the most
matters.
important thing, because I
And
think that's what's for
we're-
me
we're-
as a
we're,
mom. If he's happy, I'm happy. Like
Exactly.
anything that you do,
course.
if it's affecting him, and they sense a lot. When
That's
you're
another
sad,
thing.
now that he's having this, he can understand what's happening. Even if I'm sick, you can see that he's kind of not calmer than usual, but he kind of looks at you and leans in for a hug.
They're like a
and it's like,
sponge.
yeah, exactly. And
Exactly,
if
everything,
I'm nervous
literally.
and I show it in front of him, when he gets nervous about a toy, he does the same thing. And I'm like, man, I can't do this, because they mimic everything
Like,
that you do.
They're like a mirror, kind
Exactly. So that's a lot
Panicking
of
at
pressure.
time.
It's a huge responsibility. You have to be on your
Very
A game
careful.
all the time.
That's
And
why every age as well.
that's the thing that it really scares me as a mother, that I have to. I can't
have to be
mess it
careful
up,
all the
because
time.
there's this tiny human that's absorbing everything and
Depending on you.
growing
Yeah.
through
Yes.
you.
But
It
we
really
have to be
scares me.
kinder to ourselves, I
that's it.
feel.
Yeah.
What about you, Leanne? How did you cope?
So to be honest, it wasn't as, I mean, thankfully I had a great support system as well. But I think during the 9 months, I think that prepared me. Whereas the first few months, obviously, I had morning sickness, same as you. I used to be like angry at myself, like, how did I let this happen? But at least for me, I can say the 9 months were enough, at least. They were enough. That's obviously, I bought things, I saved up. I still was working at the time. I told no one, so that was a bit as well. I mean, we live in Malta, so you can't really not go out. But thankfully, I wasn't really showing as much. So obviously, I went out. But you have to remember that this was from like yesterday, and then the next day you're pregnant. So if you had plans, like you said, you were going, people smoke around you, everything changes. Like from that day, from that
Become
hour,
very
literally.
mindful, like what you eat.
So-
like it's everything you have to
Exactly. I
think of.
remember the first moment. So I found out, and then like 2 hours after, I saw a cruise ship. I'm like, I'm never going on that cruise. I started crying. So that's the first thing you say, like your life is over. But
You
like
see what you
It's
can't
not-
do.
what you can't
Exactly.
do,
Or where you
you're not
can't
gonna
go.
say, okay, so I'll go with her. Now that's the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, you imagine a baby at that point. You don't imagine like now she's my
Child, a
best friend.
friend.
Exactly.
So at the moment, you're like a baby. You have to hold, you have to feed, you have to bath this baby. But yes, thankfully, I had the best support system. And I think I was ready. I mean, you're never ready. No one ever tells you,
I
but you're
wasn't.
ready.
I
But
wasn't ready.
I
Even for
think, no, not
labor.
ready for everything. But I think, weirdly enough, thinking about it now, because some things you forget. Some things I'm forgetting already.
I forgot
need
a
to
lot of
really-
things, but I think it's because of the trauma. Like
True,
my brain
doesn't
chose
want
not to remember.
exactly to remember. But if I really try and
feel
remember
longer
certain
as well.
things, I think I don't know how, because now I'm more anxious than I was before. So I think before I was calmer in a way, that even going like into labor, like if I had to go now, I know everything that happens. So I think the second time,
Benefit of not knowing.
exactly,
Exactly.
I remember me going in, and like this doctor was like, do you need a wheelchair? Like, wheelchair, man, what's gonna happen to me? I can walk. I was walking, but then obviously get contractions. I'm like, okay, I think I need to sit down.
I had a
But
week
I
to
was
prepare. I
like
had a
keeping
week
it
before
cool.
the
Like, I
hospital.
remember. So now I think, even with, like you said, with her growing up, I think I've become more anxious than I was pregnant. Like, I took it a bit slow,
I think the anxious feelings change.
Changed.
So in the beginning,
On
I was
different things
I
as
was
well.
anxious because they cry all the time. You need to feed. You need to
baby.
like even to go out. You have to put breast pads in your
Carry
bra
things,
because
so
they
much
leak.
things.
Like I didn't know any of this.
No one
And like,
talks
oh my
about this.
god, the big bags
The big
everywhere. Like
bags.
to go out, it takes ages, and then you're 5 minutes, and then
Exactly.
you're back home,
And then you have to go back home, and then it's late.
and another clothing, like-
food.
and
No,
then
now I'm
that
remembering.
anxious, like they grow up, and now it's
You go out with just a
I
bottle.
can't. I don't swear, but if sometimes I say something like a bit not child appropriate,
gonna
like
repeat.
I can't say that. I have to be a proper
I
example.
can't use my phone, because then
Like,
she would want the phone. That's another thing.
I can't watch
obviously
all
we
the
do.
films in front of her. Like
Become very much
It's
aware
still-
about
it's still-
what you do all
Things
the time.
change.
even
Which is
what you
good at the
eat.
same time, because obviously we didn't drink
Yes.
for 9 months, we didn't smoke for 9 months. So some things,
That's true.
So that's why I'm saying I was prepared, not because I was ready, because I said I'm ready.
I was not ready to
But
be a mom.
I think
at all.
obviously the 9 months, it's preparing you for not for like I was still staying inside. She was born in December, so I did all summer pregnant. So I wasn't really
Like me, Oli was
going
born
in
December,
December as well.
He was meant to be born end of January, but he came
A bit before.
way before.
Ella's in November, so exactly.
okay.
I made a whole summer pregnant as well.
Exactly, and you won't really go out like we do now,
No.
when you're pregnant. Obviously, you have to take care. So you're already
But
taking
I was
care
very
of
active.
yourself
I did
more.
2 dance shows. I sang for the first time in front of an audience. I think that's not my first time.
You were
like
pregnant.
in front of a big. Yes, I traveled for a scholarship
Lal,
to do
how
a
good.
competition for singing as well. Like I that's how I coped. Like, listen,
the
this
norm.
pregnancy is not stopping my dreams of becoming an artist.
Yeah.
And so I did too. My mom and my sister were going to die in the audience because I was doing like cartwheels and people carrying me because they didn't know. I was like, I'm not gonna cancel this show just because I have a baby growing inside of me. Like, this is sports. Like, this is healthy, no?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And I did everything. I traveled with a
So-
I wish
bump
I
as
traveled
well.
with a bomb.
Obviously, after
a bump.
she was born in November, this was till
Early.
September, and then obviously I had to slow down a bit because I was doing so much with dance and everything that my doctor had to like, listen, just stop and sit down, don't move, or your baby's gonna come now. So I had to like at the end I was stopped from doing anything, but no, I stayed active, and
Going.
that's how like I
you
just
coped.
ignored the fact that I was pregnant.
kind of braided.
But I didn't come to terms with it, and then she was there, and then I was like, "Ah,
Now you have to.
Yeah.
you're real."
Yeah.
It's true, Mad.
That's
First
the
moment.
thing. And I don't know, but for me, yours were not born during COVID times. You know, Oli was
true.
born
COVID
exactly
baby.
during the pandemic.
Oh wow.
So while I was pregnant, obviously I tried to avoid, and that the isolation part, I think it affected me the most because I was pregnant. I was still going to places, and thankfully in summer, you know, like it got a bit better. This was the second wave when he was born. But at the time that he was born, we were up to 700, 800 cases. So, and my water broke a week before. Like I stayed a week at the hospital. So during that week, I was all the time with the mask. So that was when it started to affect me a lot. I wasn't, no one could come see me, just his father. That thing was really, that's when I kind of started to feel a bit anxious. So I had to prepare for labor, but I was constantly being rushed to the labor ward and then back. And that's when it got a little bit
Out of
blurry.
control.
Exactly. So the COVID, I think, thing was
Zayda.
كانت and
For us, I
accept
think they started school during COVID, same as me, I think. Because it was new. Like,
Yes,
kindergarten was
kindergarten.
really
I couldn't
a
even
lot.
see Oli. Like
You
he
see her
was
with a
born.
Mask.
Yes,
And exactly, because he was born late at night. And then they took him to the MPICU. His father went with him. And I remember
see him.
they put me on here like for
Okay.
just a couple of seconds. I was out of it because my labor wasn't very happy. Sorry if there's any pregnant woman watching this. Those all labors are the same.
they're
Just
the
We
same.
probably have some.
happy times after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they put him on me and he went. And I was like, you know, okay, he's with the doctors, his father is with
Safe.
him. And they just told me, okay, you can just start cleaning up a bit. They were stitching me up. And I was just thinking, where's my baby? Where's my baby? And then she told me, okay, so since it's COVID, like he's at the MPICU and you can't just go and see him now. We have the next appointment is tomorrow at 4
Oh
in
wow.
the
Appointment.
afternoon. And I was looking at her. I'm like, no, I have to see, you know, like I have to see him. Like I
Not
don't
good for
really
the
know. I was
mom.
seeing photos, like his father came rushing. He's like, look at him. Like, yeah, but I need to see him, you know?
Yeah.
And then she told me, I'm gonna mention names because you might get in trouble for this. And she told me you can just go in for like 2 minutes, look at him, and go to your ward, you know, because you
Wow,
can't
that's
look at.
Heartbreaking.
So
So
heartbreaking.
that's the part
how,
where
how
it
can you
felt
calm a
fun.
mom,
That
a
What do you
mother?
what do you guys think? You had a very different.
I'm
No,
shocked.
she was
that
on
part
me.
was very bad
I
for
knew
me
this was
'cause-
happening,
True.
No, it was
but I
very
never
bad.
spoke to anyone who went through it. And now, as soon as she said that, like,
And then the next day it
not
was even
know-
worse because you wake up and you feel that there's no baby kicking inside you. You
There's
feel
like this
empty. There's
void.
You're
this
alone.
blood. You know,
No,
you're
no.
alone because no one can come see you. Next to you, you're having mothers with their baby crying next to you because the ward is not like, you know, okay, this is for the. I had a mother next to me with her child, and I'm like, okay, man. She told me you can call at any time. I'm like, okay, let me go to the reception, like in the ward. And I remember baby Vella, they used to call him. I'm like, his name is Oli, you know, but she used to say baby Vella. And she used to check and she say, okay, he's okay. And then I could see him every day at 4 for 2 hours until he was there. And thankfully, he was only there for a week. He was discharged Christmas Eve.
Do you think it like impacted the early connection
I
that you
think
formed?
so. I mean, I don't know. Like breastfeeding for me was very difficult. I tried. He was on formula the minute he was born. I couldn't even breastfeed him
course.
myself. And when I tried, it was very difficult. He was on formula most of, and then it was very painful. And I really wanted to breastfeed myself. It was something I was looking forward. I don't know if it affected that, but I mean, seeing your son for 2 hours and he's in an incubator, and I mean, I thank the MPACU ward because they do so much, and their work is unbelievable. But you can't really, the connection. You hold him a bit, he's full of wires and stuff, and you put him back in. So but thankfully for us, it was only for a week. There are babies that stay there for months. And during COVID, I don't know, it's horrible, because imagine seeing your child for 2 hours for 3 months or 2 months, the time they're there.
Oh,
So
how
that, I think, was
heartbreaking.
the heaviest
After
part
those
of
months
Yes.
waiting
becoming
for
a
him.
mother, because then once he's home, I think we were so, I didn't have the postnatal depression and stuff like
No,
that,
but
it was very challenging with
what
COVID.
I'm thinking is sometimes, because I was struggling personally, and Ella was perfectly healthy. She was like a big baby, and she was healthy, and thank God there was nothing
No
ever
complications. Yeah.
And people plan for these things.
Then you feel guilty that
and
you're
they
not.
and they plan to have babies, and then they are not able to, and then they go through all the hassle of like pills and doctors and IVF and all these things, and they have premature babies, and they just really want a child, and are willing to go through all these things, and I'm there
And then you feel more guilty about it.
unplanned with a healthy baby, and just my
What more do you
mind
want?
But everyone has their own journey.
yeah, I
and how
had
you feel,
personal struggles, but
exactly.
the world is a very cruel place
true.
sometimes.
Mysterious, eh?
True.
Yeah, so that thought goes through my head very often.
This celebration is about those who come next, building on dreams and foundations. You get the context. For our people, our movement, not lost, but living, searching for a future filled with living, loving, and giving. It doesn't have to be about the great, the big, and the mighty. It can be about taking those small acts of kindness just a little less lightly, making the most of our bodies, being thankful for each new day. The next 15 years is about the new creators, thinkers, movers, and shakers. But we need a helping hand. Are there any takers?
I want to ask something. So we're going back to the exact moment when you found out you were pregnant. Did you ever, for any second, think about terminating the pregnancy?
Unfortunately, yes. But as like in that second, exactly, I said no. I thought about it because I know it's available in places.
Yeah.
Not here, but yeah.
Same thing.
In
with-
places.
Yeah.
I was young. I was 19. I was in my little flat in Msida or Swat or wherever.
Student as well, and that's. I mean, I tried. I was doing my
Wanting to
masters and I
leave
stopped as well.
this country to go dance because there isn't an opportunity for dancers here. And my mind was like, it's an easy way out. Like, this could be something in my past.
Not tell anyone.
Not telling, like, and
Same
that
thing.
would be my little secret. And, like, that's it. We'll move forward. But no, I wouldn't have lived with
think once
myself
you hear
not
the
knowing
heartbeat,
what
it's
could
quite
have
Every
been.
day
to do.
you have to remember every day this would no same thing. I
And I
thought
don't
about it for a
regret
second.
it 1 second.
For sure.
What about you, Leanne? What you're gonna
Same
say?
thing. The first like at that moment, first you panic and everything, and then you're like, is there a way out of this? There isn't, but there is, but not in Malta, as you said. And then you think that I think it would be more complicated, and it could be more, like you said, in the future you'll think about it more.
Yeah, like the guilt
Whereas,
will catch up.
exactly, like which
I wouldn't have
which is
lived
worth
with the
it.
guilt, I think.
Exactly, like what would have happened.
And also, I thought about
Now you know,
And
like you know.
Another
her as a
thing is,
person,
I was
so
3
you
weeks
feel
pregnant
guilty, like-
because it showed 1 to 3 weeks pregnant. So then when you go get checked, you know,
I wasn't
was
so far
already-
along, but
I was
then I was
more-
like, I really believe in everything happens for a reason. So I was like, I don't want to come to plan a pregnancy and then I realized that I'm not able to have children, and I had terminated the pregnancy when I was
Exactly.
stupid
And
and
then you
19.
think of all the other mothers that's like you mentioned,
No,
like
no, I
everyone's
couldn't.
trying, and then you're
But
like you're being just selfish because you know.
that's my opinion, isn't it?
Yeah. And
As that
Nicole?
same for me. I mean, it didn't cross my mind. Also, I was 29, and probably if I didn't get pregnant at the time, even though it was not planned and I had other plans, I don't think I would have ever sat down and said, "Okay, now's the time to do it," because there's always other things I want to do. I love kids. I always said I wanted a big family. Now that I have one and everything, man, you start slowly coming back to life in terms of you as a person. So now that Oli is almost 2, I don't think I imagine myself going through it again. Also, financially, nowadays it's quite, everything is quite expensive. So I'd rather stick to one child. But if I had to, now before I was never really careful. Now I kind of became responsible and became quite like I do what I have to do to kind of make sure I don't get pregnant. But I don't think it's crossed my mind to actually end the pregnancy, at the time. I don't know in the future if it had to happen randomly, and I don't know what my situation would be. So I don't rule it out. I'm not against it. Free decision for everyone. They were super young, so hats off. I don't know, like 19 was a huge turning point for me. So it's a great shock. Like 29 was also like, what?
Also, I think it
As
makes
if
a
we're 19.
difference with what values you've been raised.
Yeah.
I think
As
it
well.
makes a
But yeah, I
difference.
mean, my parents are pretty open to, as long as I'm happy and I'm healthy, they
No, I found it easy to tell my easy. It wasn't easy to tell
Easy
it
enough.
was,
anyone.
yeah, it's a comfortable place to kind of
But
open up. That's
my
what I meant.
mom, I'm very close with her, and I think my pregnancy has deepened our relationship as well. And I'm growing up as well now. But with my dad, I never
Different
managed to tell
story.
him myself. My mom told him.
On this note, so how did you navigate these social stereotypes and judgments? Like, we live in a very judgmental country. And what
They, I think, have
advice?
more to say because I'm
when we're
pretty part
young.
of the norm, I guess. It's still, I had my own, but I think they can take the
Yeah, but
stage for this
outside
one.
of a typical, like, you weren't married, you weren't that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people would frown upon
Um,
that. Like,
as
what
well.
But
advice would
you
you
can
give
go.
to other
For me,
women?
I think it's pretty short and sweet in the sense that they don't think I'm 29. So when I tell them I have a son, not to say that I look young, but when I tell them that I
You
have,
do. You can
but when I
take
tell
it.
them I have a
You can
son,
take
everyone's
it.
like, "Oh, you're so young," and then I'm like 30, and they're like, "Oh, okay, Mela, you're okay." But then I tell them, "No, I'm not married. Where do you live?"
The
I live in a
questions
mobile
start
home in
rather.
Ahrash. What about your son? The questions start pouring in.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't baptize my son. We decided to do it when he was 1 because I was kind of pressured to doing it. Not that I'm against anyone, that's everyone can do whatever they want. But she mentioned before that she has to take them to this and that. I don't go to church. So for me, it's like I'm faking this thing and I'm doing it because society is expecting me to do. So these things I find that to accommodate
The society.
society, because we live here. If I were living, I'd rather be living in a community where I'm free spirited and he goes to a green school and everyone's woohoo. But
Everything's
but I'm here and I'm in Malta, and for now, even if he has to go to a church school, and
Have to
there's a lot
adjust.
of things that I have to adjust, and that's when. And maybe the kind of lifestyle we live and everything, it's not the typical way. But I mean, I stick to my group of friends, which are pretty much like me. Some of them are parents, some of them are single mothers, some of them they're all amazing. And as long as I'm in my happy bubble, I don't care what my neighbor says. You know what I mean? I say hi to everyone. If they don't like me, it's okay. Now that I have a son, I got used to that, because if my best friend is watching this, probably say, finally, man, she got it out of her system, because I was very paranoid about what other people say.
Yeah.
But now, as long as my son is happy, I'm
That's
happy
all that
days.
matters.
Yeah.
What about you, Denise?
I mean, I was young. I live on our sister island. It wasn't easy at all. And I mean, it was bittersweet, obviously, because I didn't accept myself either. So how do I expect other people to accept me?
Yeah.
So I first had to start with myself before I am comfortable with not caring about everyone. It took like a couple of months, and I was allowed, because I didn't show for a long while. So the first 3 months, nothing. I used to go out with my friends, they smoking, drinking somewhere, and I'm having my a
Non-alcoholic
mocktail.
beverage.
And did you tell your friends at that time?
My close ones, yes, and my family, and so at first I could escape it, but then it was catching up, and people were saying that I was pregnant, but I didn't look pregnant, and I
Oh
wasn't
my God, I
acting.
had this.
I wasn't acting pregnant,
So
whatever that
so
means.
how do you know?
So then they started saying that I terminated my pregnancy, or that I have a miscarriage. So they elevated the gossip.
Oh, wow.
And I used to go out, and some people would take photos of me. I had screenshots of people speaking about me in group chats where I had friends which they forgot about,
Yeah,
included in
really.
the group chat.
Tina?
Pregnancy was
And my pregnancy was very easy. I didn't have any complications. I was never in pain. I didn't have morning sickness, nothing. God bless.
But in terms of
But in
society and
terms of
personal,
society, health, mental health, disaster, a whole. But it made me very strong, and I think I wouldn't be here in the public eye speaking about it. Never had found my job, the guts to leave my work. I think they all snowballed into a very beautiful thing. So yeah.
and you, Leanne?
I think for me, well, I didn't tell all my friends because same thing, I wasn't showing. I didn't even tell my boss at the time. I just kept working. I'm fine. And then obviously things start to catch up, like the morning sickness, you have to tell him. But same thing as I used to go out normally, like as much as you can. Like, can I do this? Yes. Will there be a lot of alcohol involved? I mean, yes, but you can choose not to drink. You know, so you start slowly adjusting to things. But obviously, yes, there will be always, I think at any age, there'll be judging. You know, you could be like 40 and still, unfortunately, I think even as mothers, I think we are the first ones to judge. I mean, it's not a good thing, but there's always going to be judging. So I don't think it's only because we were younger. I think mainly
It
it's
amplifies things. But
exactly because obviously they will look at you more, but then it's everything. It's if you're doing this, if you're doing that, are you working? And I
What's your
remember
plan?
what's
Where are
your
we going with this?
what's happening after.
I don't even know.
I think even just not just the pregnancy, even now, I think we still feel this because if you work, that because then where's the baby? If you're with the baby, then do you have money for the baby? So I think I think we're stuck with
pressures,
this.
constant pressures.
I think it's not something that is just during a pregnancy because obviously you can hide it a bit. I remember I didn't used to post anything. Like, what am I going to post? Just my face. But then,
Selfies.
same as you said, people will start questioning things.
Why?
Like,
Why
I haven't
always the
seen Leanne in a
selfies?
while. But at the same time, are they if you're my close friend,
You
then you would
wouldn't care,
know.
or you would
Then you
know.
would know. And if you don't know, then you don't have to know. But I remember there was once, similar to your story, someone was like telling the another person, I think Leanne's pregnant, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but I never said that to you. Like, I don't even show. And I remember I got angry. I sent a photo of my belly. I'm like, where? I'm like, what did you see? Because they said they saw me filmed. I was like, so
I was in
it's
a
like it's
public place, and
easier
the flash went off
to
in my
take
face.
to take
And you were already
photos.
like in the public eye back then.
No. I mean,
Random.
I tried, as in I was still,
Yeah, but
I
you
was
were still-
dancing and singing, and somewhat we're a small community
Yeah.
there at the time, so I was very active, like مش popular. I don't know how to explain this, but
But they know you.
they knew who I was, for sense.
They just had something to talk about if they want to take a
Yeah.
photo.
Obviously, and I refused to stop singing and dancing in
Yeah, so
public places, because at the time I was like, if I expect these things to take off and start getting gigs and these things, I can't stop them for like these 9 months. So even after I gave birth, as soon as I gave birth, so I gave birth on 13th of November, and my first gig was in like 3 weeks after. And I did it. I went. I couldn't care. And I wore a really, really tight dress to like show that, listen, I'm back in shape. And like, I was so adamant
Super.
to I think my career
I'm
really
back.
helped me get back on my feet.
In
And
fact, on
great,
this
though.
note, so you've all like mentioned it at some point or another that this had an impact on your career, on your goals, on what you wanted to do in your personal life. So motherhood often comes with sacrifices, right? So how did becoming a mother in your 20s, and in your case, well, still
20s.
29.
almost in your 20s,
You know, she how, so
Exactly. how did it impact your career, your education, and like how did you cope with these changes? Like you've already
I
told us
touched
a
a
bit.
bit on things, and I think mentally and willingly, I think it impacted me very well. Obviously, then I'm limited to how much I can do. So if I get a gig, for example, to put you a bit in my picture, if I have work from Monday to Friday, I have work from Monday to Friday. And then if my gigs are on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're in Malta, that means I'm a whole week in Malta, and my daughter is in Gojo. So I have to juggle things around, cancel, work from home, not go to some of the gigs, not see my friends as much. But there's a lot of juggling, and me and my calendar are in a relationship.
Sometimes the diary becomes your
Planning
best friend.
becomes
Like,
exactly.
okay, appointments, this, that.
Exactly. I'm the youngest.
I don't have gigs and
And obviously, I
extra,
have to
like, stuff.
pencil
Carrying
in
the
my,
calendar.
like, she has a
Money, yeah.
dermatology appointment, and then she has this.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah.
And what about you, Leanne?
I was going to continue what you were saying because apart from me being in love with my calendar, my mom has to be as well.
Yeah.
So we have to match.
Same.
We have to match everything. So I can be like, I can't forget an appointment. Like I can't even go to work without telling my mom I'm going to work. Because what do? Obviously, if it's not during school hours. So every plan you have to be like, okay,
It's like
double
you're in a
checking.
relationship with your
have to
mom
double
in
check
some
everything.
kind
And
of
thankfully, they're
dimension.
always
You
there
are,
to
of course
help,
you
you
are.
know, because
Yeah.
I
even
mean,
if we,
we're
like,
very
go out.
exactly.
So I was gonna ask before, but you basically
Jumped in.
answered it
Okay.
for me. Like you all have a very good support
Yes,
system.
Yes.
thankfully, and I
We're
can't thank
very,
them
very
enough
lucky, it
because
seems.
even when sometimes, I mean, we're still young and I like to go to, I don't know, parties
Obviously,
and this
my
and
love.
that, and it's amazing to spend time with your son, and there are places where you can go, but there are places that I would like to
Cannot.
go as well,
Yeah.
and
On
I
your
wouldn't
own.
be able to do it on my own, you know, and if my mom is not there to kind of tell me, okay, tonight you can sleep over, you can pick him up tomorrow. So having that is amazing, and I can't thank them enough. For
Exactly.
them, it's a treat because they're so happy to have him around. But you know, if they were not there, or when he's sick and I have to go to work because I don't have enough sick leave in the world to stay with him when he's sick,
Yeah.
they step in. So none it.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
I don't
Means a
think
lot.
I would do
Bless their
anything
It's a
souls.
without
blessing,
it.
right? Because
Yes,
there are a lot
they're
of people
amazing.
that don't have
They
this.
don't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it
I
makes
could
me think.
never.
I wouldn't
I wouldn't
be
do
here
half, not
sitting
even
down.
half the things that I do without it. Of
You
course.
wouldn't know who I am, or I wouldn't have spoken
And
about
whoever
it.
is, I don't know, especially if you're a single mother and they don't have the family support, then they still manage to do it. Superhumans.
Hats off to them, right?
Yes,
Superwomen.
superhuman stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, my parents literally just think of her as their own.
Of course.
Like sometimes they do things or take her to places, and I'm like, where are you guys going? She's like, I'm staying in Emme. I'm like, oh, okay.
Enjoy.
Tayyip, enjoy. So that's a blessing, yes.
Something about the way you bounce makes me want to keep you around my mind. My mind. Something about the way you sound shakes me up and makes me get down on my.
And you all mentioned finances as well at a point, and the pressures can be quite significant, even if you don't have a child
Yeah.
right now, let alone. So how did you manage to like provide for your children and maintain stability as well during this time?
I
Parents.
don't know.
Again.
Same thing. I was gonna
mean,
say.
I owe everything that I have and do and say and am to my parents. Because at the time, I was changing careers. I just changed my job like a couple of months ago as well. They, like, even when I told them that I'm leaving nursing, for them, it was like, into, right? So, and obviously they support every decision that I make, but obviously having a child, sometimes it's not easy to blurt out, I think I'm leaving nursing.
Yeah, I
I
think I'm
changed
leaving
my
my
job
job.
as well
A
in the
very,
middle
Like,
of
a
this is
very
the
everything.
good
time you should
job
be
with the
more.
government.
Yeah,
It's not easy, but they step in each time.
they still supported you.
Yes.
Same. I mean,
And they come to every gig.
Holly's father is also, like he helps a lot, so that's is very good. But my family, when it comes to, I changed my career. I was working in the school, and then I said, let's try and use the degree, and I did it when Holly turned 1, and my hours were from Monday to Friday till 5. I got to him at 6, so if it weren't for his father and my mother that helped out and were helping me through this mental crisis I was going through, because I wasn't happy. I wasn't seeing my son as much. Financially, I was struggling. I spent a month, because then I left and I spent almost a month without working. So if you don't have the support of the family, from your partner, it's a big struggle.
Things catch
You
up.
still have to pay things. He's growing. It's not
More
just clothes and
things.
food, which you will get some one way or
Sick.
another. We're talking
They're
about
always
medicine,
sick.
vaccines, and my God, man, it's never ending. And rent or loan, whatever you have, those
Things.
things keep on going. So if you don't have any backup plan and you don't have the family or your partner or whoever is there to help you, you I'd like to say it's good you can do it on your own because you can be independent, but when you have a tiny human that depends on you 24/7,
You need to depend on
it's
others
great
as
to
well.
have someone
Exactly, even
and
more
it's
than
good to
before.
accept the help, because I sometimes they keep it all bottled up and I'm like, no, I'm fine, like everything's, and then you're just burnt out to a point that's not good
Which
on
is not
on your
healthy on the
children,
children.
Yeah.
because they can sense it, as I said before. And what good is a mother if she's not mentally present and she's struggling
true.
when she can have someone help her to help her son,
When
like
I used
I
to
think
come
that
Because you have
home
to accept.
from a shift at hospital, I wasn't happy. Knowing that tomorrow I have to wake up at 5 to go to hospital and do the same thing all over again. So I used to come home. Yes, I'm home. Ella's at home, but I wasn't at
There.
home.
didn't,
Put it
yeah.
there.
And what about you, Leanne? Like, how did you deal with the financial pressures?
So I'm super, super grateful because same thing, my parents, I wouldn't be here without them. I kept working as much as I could. So the first 7 months, and then I took it a bit slower the last 2 months. And then I was lucky enough to stay with Amelia for almost 2 years until I got, so obviously the money I saved, but we weren't really doing much, just staying at home. Luckily, she was born in December, so 2 months of cuddling inside. But then, yes, until you slowly start seeing, I still have the same job, but obviously I have to work part time. I can't even. I mean, I know that eventually I have to be a full time again, but it's already a bit too much because obviously the days I have to work, I have to ask my mom. So if I'm working double the hours, it's like, and then where do I see Amelia? Like
Yeah.
as I am, I already feel like when I go to work or I go to the gym, she's like, again, you're going out. So then when she
Breaks
says
my
it,
heart every time.
so even if I go an hour to the gym, which would make such a difference for the whole week, exactly breaks my heart. I'm like, so I don't go, because everything you see it
The
extra.
guilt.
It's like you always have to pick.
She's on another island. I can't just go
That's
during
true.
my break for an hour
For an hour,
home and go
you
back,
just have to call.
which is not enough.
That's
Sometimes I avoid
tough.
calling because it makes us sadder,
It's true. Even when we go abroad, sometimes.
which is counterproductive, ħafna, but
So I think it's a lot of planning and it's a lot of choices. You have to
And
pick.
something
Do
we
I
have
go
to
out or do I
accept.
go to the gym? Obviously, I'll pick the gym. But if on my off day, do I go out with Amelia or do I focus on myself? So I think it's a lot of choices and
Like you have to
sacrifices.
balance it
Constant.
out.
Constant.
In fact, this brings me to my next question. So, young mothers often face hurdles, like additional hurdles, in balancing their self care and their children's needs. How do you prioritize your well being and maintain a healthy sense of self, Denise?
I think
She's the busy bee.
it's very difficult because I'm very, very busy and the guilt catches up on the worst kind of days where I say, am I prioritizing myself too much? Should I remove some of my commitments or this or that? But obviously my mother's always pushing me to go back to the no, I'll work, I'll be happy, like to be happy with myself first before I can be happy with my daughter. So I think it's there isn't any advice or solution I can give. It's more of a
Happy mom,
learning
happy child.
Exactly. You
curve
have to
with
create your own
myself.
balance,
And
kind of.
today is a good day where I can tell you, just you do you, and everything else will follow.
Amazing.
If you're happy,
Yeah.
everything will follow. I go home and she's there waiting, and I don't have anything on my mind that I still need to do.
Give her your
or
time.
But sometimes it's a bad day, and I wake up feeling like I'm not doing enough, and that I don't see her enough, and that maybe I will grow up a bit more and say I wasn't there for her enough, or that maybe she will tell me you weren't there for me. But I am very adamant that I have a very good relationship with my mom, where she's always been my advocate and at the same time my biggest fan and my therapist. But at the same time, I am adamant to have a very good relationship with my daughter. So I'm already very open with her, even when she has a tantrum. First, I let her be alone because I need to be alone to also process her tantrum before I make one of my own. And then I just go next to her and tell her, like, you can't act this way. Let's speak. Why do you feel like this? Why did you do that? So I think if I maintain these very good relationships with both my mom, who is her main carer, alongside myself, and with my daughter, I think it creates my personal perfect
Life.
formula for a good well-being for all three of us, basically.
Yeah. What about you, Nicole?
Yeah, for me, one, I used to go to therapy as well for some time, and the therapist always used to tell me, like, don't forget that you don't just wear the mother's hat. You also have to think about yourself. So the decisions that you're doing, yes, obviously they're going to affect your son. So because everything that I do, wherever there's always, but is this okay for Oli? I'm always the guilt. It's always at the back of my head.
Such a big topic.
Whatever I decide, what I eat, everything, it's constantly worried that I am in anything that you do, basically. So she always used to tell me that you before being a mother, you were Nicole. You had your dreams, you had your
You're still
you
Nicole.
still had other things that you were doing every day. You used to enjoy, I don't know, going thrifting and going on campings and hikes and this and that on your own. Now that I have my son,
Can
I
tag
don't have that
along.
alone time, because why am I going to go alone when I can take my son? But being alone is very, very important. So you need to have time on your own, time as a
Without going
family,
and
time
feeling
with
guilty.
him. Yes,
Exactly.
and that was something that I struggled with a lot. And when I was not having that, I was very depressed. Not very depressed to a point like you were talking before, because we say it, I think we say it very lightly. But I felt there was something missing in me, because I used to enjoy
But it
waking up early in the
affects.
morning and watching the sunrise before work. Now I have to get Oli ready, like make sure that he's fine before I go to work, take him to my mom, and now childcare. So but again, having like a good support system, a partner, the parents that can step in so that you can do the things that you love is very, very important, and it's very healthy, and it's okay to have that time and not feel guilty about it. Because before, I do have it, and I thank the people that helped me to do it. But when I used to do it before, I used to stay on my phone, like, okay, how is he? Can I see a picture? Like, did he eat? Did he this and that? So I'm not there. I'm not doing the things that I
Still
love.
not enjoying
and I'm
yourself.
Exactly,
I used to
that's
go,
why
okay,
I
I was
said-
physically
happens.
there. But
We're lucky enough
now
that
that
can
he's
go,
growing up
but-
and you kind of get used to the mother thing, you kind of start wearing other hats. Like, okay,
And also,
I work,
it depends
I do
where
this,
you're
I-
going, because sometimes you go out and still end up talking about your children.
Oh, every
so you go
time.
out with a group of people,
Every time.
and they'll
And
be
you-
like,
you're scrolling too.
so Ella,
showing photos.
why
Look,
isn't
look
she
how
here with
handsome you
you?
are."
It's like, I came out. Like,
with
please.
myself. I'm
here.
here.
I'm here. That's true.
It's
So
true. So
even
it's
people
very
do it.
important. I
What
think
about
you need
you?
to find time.
I mean, I'm very relatable. Same thing. I go out, I'm checking my phone. Sometimes we're messaging our mom, obviously. That's the first thing. So that's the biggest guilt, because I could be there. I could be there. What time are you coming? I have.
Yeah.
So we're lucky enough to can do things. Like you mentioned, camping. So I can go camping on my own. Lucky enough, my mom will keep her
And of
for a
course,
day
you
or
can
for
with your
2
son.
nights.
I mean, that's our child. So it's
Exactly
beautiful
now.
to do it with him. But
Exactly. But
that
if you
alone
want it to
time,
be
that
your alone
window.
time, exactly, you can go. But will I enjoy it if I'm still thinking about her?
Exactly.
And now, as she's growing up, luckily she can do more things with me.
That's it.
So at least now
And
it's
even
like,
I don't
okay, I'm
feel as
limiting
guilty
things.
with her staying with my mom because she can play on her own.
They do crafts,
be
yes,
like,
exactly.
It's
she can-
beautiful to share. I mean, one of the, I think it's the most beautiful thing when you become a mother is that you see them doing the things that you love and they
Now,
share
for
with you.
sure,
Like,
Exactly.
yes.
I take him to watch sunrise with me. I take him, but
How
when he was a
sweet.
baby, and like we couldn't
different.
share the same things that I love, I kind of dropped out everything just to be with him, and he became my work as it should be, But
But it's a short period of time.
You miss it anyway, like you feel, and then you feel guilty, like why am I missing doing things on my own when I have this precious human looking at me and I'm his world, like he doesn't know anything else.
But
you're
you're
the
still
only-
you.
but you miss that part of you, and that's something you learn how to adjust and balance, and you find a good, but again, having a good support system, I think, is the key. Whether it's
but
friends, partner,
sometimes
family, whatever.
They're so good.
it's-
I think you will relate the most. Since my daughter spends a lot of time with my mom, then I feel guilty for my mom.
It's true, because then what about her life? Like she's still young, even if she wasn't.
He raised
you know?
us,
so
Like she was
now's
that.
the time.
Even that
that's-
was exactly.
So I feel guilty.
So that's another guilt. That's a bigger
So sometimes
guilt.
I just feel guilty about my mom rather than my. So like guilt
She'll be
is
fine.
a
Exactly. Our daughter is fine. She's
continuous.
playing. She
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
know. She doesn't know where I am. We can
Sometimes
say,
I call her. I'm like,
today
can
she
I
told me
take
you're
her
gonna-"
with me there, please? I'll come.
She'll be like, no, keep her.
She's like, no,
Exactly.
she's
وليه
okay.
فيها
Go.
تهرجة.
They're super
if it's
happy.
if it's
I
a
mean,
beach day, وليه في
quiet.
الشمس. برافو تعملوا crafts. So I'll be like, okay.
and they changed from the time they were with us.
And now it's changing.
them,
Now I
they're
want
like-
her with me.
I don't know. They're more, like my mom, for example, because my dad
But
was
still.
always the same. But my mom now is more relaxed. Like she was obsessed with cleaning. Now with Oli, she doesn't really care if he makes a
Yeah.
mess.
Even
she
my mom
enjoys
changed
it.
a
So
bit,
like,
yes.
where were you? when
They're
I
very
was
mom was
relaxed,
always chill
relaxed,
with
and
these
so am I,
things
even
as
with
long
me.
as
My dad was like
as
that,
long as
but
they're
my
having
fun.
mom was.
Same.
I love you, mommy, if you're watching this. But she was, like the one that she was the bad cop at home, like the one that's on it with education and this and that. My dad was the one fun, taking us out and doing all these things. So they have a good balance.
good
of
balance.
everything, is that?
Final question before we move into the closing. So society often focuses on the challenges of young motherhood, and we've pretty much focused a lot on them today as well. But can you share some of the joys and the rewards that come with
course.
raising children?
I think there's a
Good
lot
stuff.
of joys. I mean, especially now. At first, I was like, maybe I'm just not made to be a mother, or it wasn't meant for me.
No.
Like, I never planned it in my brain. I had friends who were like, I want to be a mother when I grow up. And like, I was never so inclined to be a mom. It wasn't always it was never my top priority, to be honest. But now, as she grows and I learn these things about her, how she's like a person on her own, like she has her own character, and like seeing myself in her is so scary.
Oh my God.
But
much
they're
so.
all very beautiful. Even what I plan for her, like, okay, I'll take her this
They get
place,
so
and I see her having
From
fun and
days, from-
enjoying. I'm like taking photos and then showing them to my friends. I'm like, this is nice, this is wholesome.
Mini me.
This is
You have a best buddy that's constantly
even
with
the
you,
things
kind
that I
of. That's
plan
great.
for her.
Mini
I
me, Jane.
secretly enjoy, like if we
I
were going to
always enjoy
Disneyland or to the playground,
Yeah,
or
I
like,
get to be a kid again. For me, that's
Of course, that's
awesome.
another
I can be
plus.
messy. I
And
can
really-
be
and-
Yes.
loud. I can,
and
like,
now
be a
I
lot of things.
understand why people say. I'm gonna say this in Maltese though. إطفال أطفال. You have to be young as
Yes.
well, because you need
a
energy.
plus,
You need
yes,
to be,
for sure.
or at least young at heart. You don't
You
have
end
to
up
be young
channeling
on your
your inner
ID
child
card.
as well, right?
Exactly, because they enjoy you enjoying what they enjoy. So if she's
would want
playing,
you
she
to.
doesn't want to play alone. She wants me to play with
course.
her.
So to go,
I'll be like, okay, I'm jigsaw puzzle, but like she
No,
wants
she
me
wants
to
you.
do it with her.
Yeah.
So you have
So
exactly.
I had a misconception about this, like, I'll buy her toys and she'll
play?
play and we'll be fine, and I'll work on my dance, she'll be there.
No,
But
for
no,
sure.
they want
Yes,
attention.
for
Yeah.
sure.
What about you, Leanne?
Amira's very attached to me. It's like to the point that we sleep literally face to face, hand in hand. So she's very attached. Like we were saying, if we're doing a puzzle, if I don't do one move, she won't play. Like thankfully she still plays on her own, and now she's more like
Yeah.
with dolls and everything. But still, they're making you they're making you a cake that you have to
Taste
you have to
it.
taste it.
Imaginary
So
food coming your
that's
way
really
all the
important
time.
for them as well. So I think yes, I think we are very, very close. Hopefully we'll stay like that, and I think we will, because I mean that's another plus of me being young. I mean, even now sometimes obviously we're all tired after a day, so sometimes even now I'll be like
You
we
push
won't
down.
really.
you have
I'm
to
don't
push.
tell
So
fear
she
it.
speaks a lot at the moment, like every second.
Questions.
Everything. So
Why
much
is this
questions.
green?
Like,
Why is
can I
that
can I do this?
brown?
Can I do everything?
I
So
embrace really.
so it gets
They're
tiring
cute.
for me that
Yes, they are.
I'm in my 20s. So sometimes I'll be like, what if I'm like 40? Like my mom obviously gets more tired than me,
Yeah.
but obviously and you have to remain calm.
And
because
it
have to remain
never
calm.
crossed my mind how smart they are at a very young age.
You have to
smart.
treat
I
them like
think
adults,
kids
basically.
nowadays-
To a certain point.
that's
so
what I
she
try
can't
to
So they
do.
amaze me
listen,
every day. She comes up with this new words. I don't know where she's.
Or like I don't know.
They ask really this morning, because I was like, okay, I can mention this. And this morning she woke up, we literally woke up next to each other, and the first question she said, "Did it hurt? Did it hurt your tummy when I was born? Like, did you dream about this?" She said, "No, I'm thinking it now." Why are you thinking?
Sometimes
Because I
they
was
think
thinking of having a baby, but I'm scared.
oh, yeah.
So and obviously with being both of us have girls, I think they're already so like teen cares,
maternal.
Yeah.
which sometimes it scares me
Ella
because I don't want
worries
her
me
to
a
be
bit.
worried.
She's
Exactly.
worried. Ella already before she
Even
sleeps, she's
Amira,
like,
she's
did I do all my
already-
homework? Did I forget anything at
Same.
school?
Oh, no.
And
Doesn't
then
go to
and
sleep
then
if
she
she doesn't do
stops.
the homework.
I'm like,
Future.
listen, think happy thoughts. Let me read
I
you a
tell her
story
to
and
breathe.
sleep.
Like I have to tell her, Amira, breathe.
Yes.
Breathe in, and then when I'm crying, obviously, so
And then
that's
she
a
stops
really
and
good.
she's like, but will you someday die? I'm like,
No, don't
not
think- I
these
don't like-
questions. You're 6.
She's lost like Amira.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
What were some of the joys for you?
A lot. So, I think throughout the whole, I think 5 years you're mentioning. So as I'm saying now, everything like even just talking with her, like I have a best friend all the time. If I'm crying, she's like, she does, obviously they do what you do with them. So if I'm crying, she's like, "Mommy, breathe in, breathe out." Like recently our cat died, and I took it obviously so bad. He was like my childhood baby, and I was worrying for her. I'm like, lol, when Amira's gonna find out. I didn't even tell her on the day. I told her the day after, and then she was like, "But he was old." So I'm like, I was worrying for you. I was like, I wanted a
You're
best,
smart
you know.
that way.
She's so
Our cat
smart.
is at,
but at the same time, yes, it does scare
an
me a
old
bit that she
cat's
worries a
home.
lot.
Because I
So-
couldn't tell her that he died.
Okay.
So and now she's like,
'Cause now,
can we go see him? I'm like, they don't allow adults.
Yeah,
It's only cats. So, but they take good
they're
care
so
of him.
smart. They come up with
Sweet.
And what
Too
about you,
smart
Nicole?
sometimes.
Mine is
the
way
youngest
younger
one.
than them. So it's the joy, I think, is when you watch, and now he's starting to
First,
communicate.
first, everything
the
first.
Everything is
true. We
like
forgot
new.
about the first.
And he's awesome. I don't know. I love him so
Oh
much.
my God.
He's too cute. I can't, like, even when he does something naughty,
It's true.
you
You have-
can't. I mean, I try to shout a bit, but like to kind of put. But it's not like you're
They're too
lenient and
innocent.
but they're so like you have to understand that they're
They're
learning everything
innocent.
from scratch. They're not programmed in a way, so you have to be very, very patient. It's amazing to see them learn and grow on their own and by mimicking you. And like, so for me, that's the joy. I mean, if you see him running around and being happy, like yesterday we took him, like he was playing in the pool and everything, and he was the joy for him of seeing the water
Everything
splashing and
is new.
clapping. And for me, I was the whole day in the sun. I was very tired. I knew that when we get home, it's not going to end there. Like I'm going to chill on the sofa. There's food and this, but to
Exactly.
see him smile and like looking at the photos and like
It's enough.
you become that mom who like you look at when you're at work.
They
you just
sleep. They sleep.
trying to
I'm
see how
sure
you're
we all
going
do
to pick
this.
the
I'm just
conversation with
scroll.
someone
She's
to show
next
them.
to me,
"Oh,
and
you know what he
I'm
did
seeing her
yesterday?"
photos.
Like everything is new. So even him trying food, most of it goes everywhere, and then his hair. But then he manages like now he's managing to eat on his own with a spoon. And for me, it's like winning the lottery. But we
Yes.
spent months with
Yes.
him
Working on
his
it.
curly hair. He has curly hair with food stuck in his hair, and we wash him right after he eats. But it's a lot of
I
patience
think
and a lot of time.
I think my biggest win
But
was
it's
when
ju-
she
it's-
learned to go to the bathroom on her own.
we're still getting
To
there.
like
She thinks
watch
food
her
before
go
that
and
is
come
going to be
back
very
and
hectic,
not
I
call
think.
my name.
and you staying at the same place.
Yes, amazing. It was like
So-
Morhi.
And
But
as
now
they
she-
said, they're their own person. You can't expect
Amelia
them.
now is doing like she's going through a baby phase where she acts like she's a baby. So Mama feeds me. So now we're back. But obviously I know it's like playtime for her.
But she wants attention.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
sweet.
So we're at our close, I think slightly over time, but
Slightly.
slightly. So
Mom's
I'm going to ask
talking.
you all a bit of a different question.
Okay.
So, Denise,
Yes.
firstly, what advice would you give to society at large to better support and empower young women who become mothers at a young age?
Be kind. Just be kind. Everyone is different. Not everyone has a support system. Not everyone is mentally capable of supporting their own self. Not everyone has the finances or the best job or whatnot, or the plans of becoming a young mother. So, like, just be kind before you judge them. Like, you have to think these women, these young women, don't even know what their plan is yet, and you're already judging it. So they're already going through enough without you judging them. So it's fine. They're
The guilt
judging
is there, don't worry.
themselves. They're doing it for you. Don't even need to judge them. So like, just be kind and look at them as a person and not just as someone,
mother,
a vessel carrying a
exactly.
baby. They're also
More than
people
that.
who need to take care of their brain, who still have a career in front of them, choices to make, places to buy with the money that we don't have. So like, just be kind, and
Yeah.
that's all, I think. And maybe if you're not kind, maybe you should educate yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's very spot
shut
on,
it.
especially in Malta. Leanne, reflecting on your journey, what lessons or perhaps insights have you gained that you wish you had known sooner, like that you wish you had known when you were just becoming a mother?
So what I wish I knew before.
Yeah,
I think the first thing is that it gets better. Like you adjust, obviously, because the first few years is like you always. I feel like we always think like when she's 2, when she's 3, it's like it gets better, but it doesn't. I mean, it gets better.
It changes.
but it changes, and you're more used to it. Like I'm every year in school is different. So it's kindergarten, and you're yes, adjust.
New challenges every time.
New challenges. What else? I think I also, like we had mentioned from in the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about mainly about ourselves, that you have to help yourself, like happy mom. So I think I wish I knew that you would need more support. So like in the beginning, I used to want to do it on my own, like my ways, but they know more than us. Like, you know, you have to accept the help that you get, and also from your friends. I mean, if they must, for instance, my friends, they don't have kids, but still, you know, you need the support. You need to stay like true to what you do, because then you forget
Very
about
true.
yourself. So I think that.
amazing. And Nicole, what advice would you give to other women facing similar situations?
To stay super calm, and that, as they said, everything will be okay. Like we adjust, we get used to things. Don't get like social media nowadays, especially. There's a lot of influencers out there that post this motherhood thing as being, you know, like this picture perfect. Even their aesthetics on Instagram, everything's amazing, and then you look at your house and it's a mess and everything. You know, like that kind of puts a lot of pressure, because you kind of say, ooh, I'm really not doing it right. So just go with the flow of your own body, of your child. Just be super patient as well. Like the kids, they deserve a lot of love and care and attention. And if you get anxious because they're not doing something right, they don't know any better. You know, you have to be the one that teaches them these things. So you have to be very patient. I think that's the best advice I can give, and the rest will just follow. If I managed, honestly, like I am very clumsy, I'm chaotic, nothing ever goes as planned. I never followed any rules. I always kind of do things the opposites. And so far, I think I'm managing quite well. So
Of course.
Beautiful. I
you
think
got it.
combined,
If I manage well, you will too.
your advice will definitely be useful to women out there across all
I hope
ages,
so.
really, as in you all said
I
very
hope so.
powerful things. Ladies, I want to thank you all for coming
Thank
on
you
the
for having
show
us.
so much. And thank you once again to everyone involved during the season. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.